let's turn to peaceable assembly. Of course, the word peaceable jumps out and the word assembly jumps out as we say Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What this means is that we have the right to get together to be with people for legal and peaceful reasons. This allows groups to express their views and ensures the right to raise public awareness in a group setting. Basically, the government cannot come to us and say, hey, y'all can't be hanging out together. Now, our rights of peaceable assembly are protected on public property, not private property. And as we have seen all too often on the news, there are certainly limitations when it comes to peaceable assembly. For example, a local government may require permits for a group of people to gather together in a public place. And they can put limitations on time, on place, and on manner. All of these are used to protect the public and the public's good and the workings of society. So, for example, they might say, yes, you're allowed to have your peaceable assembly. However, it has to be between this time and this time. They can dictate what place, where we're allowed to be. After all, a peaceable assembly on the middle of a busy street during rush hour, probably not a good time and probably not a good place. There's got to be better places for the government to provide for us, and they can place limitations on that. They can also place limitations on the manner of which we are assembling. Basically, how large the crowd can be for safety reasons, how loud the crowd can be, again, for safety reasons and protecting the public that's out there. So yes, the government can put limitations on time, place, and manner, but it may not regulate our content. Therefore, somebody who is getting together for one reason cannot be discriminated any more than for the opposite reason. So the pro-gun people have just as much right as the gun control people. The pro-life people have just as much right as pro-choice people, right? Everybody must be given equal opportunity. Also, we need to consider what we call the heckler's veto. The heckler's veto happens when a peaceful assembly turns violent. Then the government can come in and shut it down. Even if it was not the original people who were assembling, they may have stayed peaceful, but if the surrounding area becomes violent, if there's the threat to property or lives, then the government can come in and shut down what had started off as a peaceful assembly. This is called the heckler's veto, where the counter-protesters would be stepping in and shutting it down because they are the ones who are then causing the violence. Also, peaceful assembly may not be used to disrupt the government, cannot be used to stall out what the government is doing. It cannot be used for any illegal purposes. So, for example, I can't say, yes, peaceful assembly to get people together to figure out how to rob a bank. And of course, we cannot use our rights of peaceful assembly to conspire to discriminate against one particular group or another. That is to say, our clubs and organizations are protected under peaceful assembly, but we cannot use our clubs and organizations to discriminate against others. And of course, once again, peaceful assembly only protected on public property. It is not protected on private property. All right, we can go and protest and get together and have a peaceful assembly in a park, but however, if everybody shows up here on my doorstep, I can call the cops and say, yo, man, y'all got to get out. Finally, we have the right to petition. Congress shall make no law prohibiting or abridging the right of the people to petition the government for a redress of grievances. A petition is a formal written request, typically one that is signed by many people, that is appealing to the authority of the government with respect to a particular cause, where we, the people, stand up and say, hey, we've got a grievance, basically a complaint. We have a grievance about something, and we demand that the government changes something. So typically how a petition works, it is written out and then it is signed by a bunch of people, and then that petition is handed over to the government. And hopefully they will consider our request. There is no limitation on what we can ask the government to do. We can ask the government to do just about anything we could possibly imagine. Doesn't mean that they will, but if we get enough signatures, they may consider it. The only limitation on our rights to petition is that the signatures must be valid. All right. It can only be invalid if the signatures are falsified. If people have lied about who they are when they are signing the petition, or we collect false names and submit those. That's the only limitation when it comes to our right to petition.